Hey guys, how's it going? I'm that socially awkward gamer you probably forgot existed, otherwise known as PvP, and let's talk about Elder Scrolls Online for a little bit. This is the last beta test before the game releases, so yeah, they did another one this weekend. Now it's part of it, and they put in a few major changes, which I pretty well agree with, and I'm quite excited. So we're going to talk about it today, and we're kind of going to get my overview thoughts on what the game's going to be like at launch, as well as kind of my initial thoughts on the PvP, because I did a lot more of the PvP on this beta than I did in the last one. I did a little bit in the last beta, but I feel like I really got my legs going in the last couple days during this final one, so I feel like I am a bit more well-equipped to talk about it now. So first of all, let's talk about the two major changes that were in this beta. So they basically made you re-download the entire thing because they changed a few things, and they're quite significant. And they're actually pretty well my two major complaints with the game. Like, these are fixes to the complaints I had. So the first one is that they've actually added in collision detection with NPCs. So now when you're actually fighting or you're walking around, you will like run into and kind of bounce off of other NPCs in the game. So it's kind of like Skyrim, you know, or any other game. You'd expect that when you walk into someone that you like walk into them. So honestly, I think that that's a great immersion thing for the game more than anything else. It makes the combat feel a lot more weighty. It makes the combat just feel better in general, you know. It's really important to have, especially in an MMO, especially in an Elder Scrolls MMO, to have a meaty combat system. And that is something that a lot of MMOs lack, and that's one of the big reasons that I don't enjoy MMOs, like, very much at all, because, like, a lot of the time the combat system felt incredibly floaty, and it just kind of felt like you were wandering around through the world as a ghost, and that's not really the greatest immersion factor, you know? I mean, I'm not really a stats guy. I like to really be immersed in the lore and immersed in the world and feel like I'm doing something. I don't want to just be some ghost that everyone ignores while you're running through the world doing God knows how many quests. So, that's the first major update. Now, the second one, this is good. This is really good. They eliminated the need to actually go through the tutorial if you've already done it once. And not just like the initial tutorial in Cold Harbor. You can now skip the entire, like, main initial islands. So, if you didn't know, on the Ebonheart Pact and the Daggerfall Covenant, they each had kind of two starter islands that you had to go through before you get to the main island. And the Aldmeri Dominion had one instead, which is arguably better because it didn't force you to go through two. But basically, what those islands did is they were just kind of a prolonged tutorial where you would just do a bunch of quests on the island, go through the main quests. It was incredibly easy, and then you had to go through it. It would take about like 2 hours to do one island, 2 hours to do the next island, and then you finally get into the main section of the game, where you're not really restricted as much as to where you can go, because obviously on an island, you're like on an island, and you can't leave until you do X quest, and it was just not very fun. It didn't really give you the best first impression when you're playing the game. It didn't feel like an Elder Scrolls game where you could go anywhere. Hey, you see this mountain in the distance? Let's go there. The game didn't give you that when you started on these two tutorial islands that took God knows how long, how much wasted time they took. And then once you got into the main section of the game, everything was way better. I mean, you could actually, like, exploring Daggerfall for the first time for me was amazing. I absolutely adored that because it was a new, huge landscape, you know, and with the islands, it just felt very constrictive. So, now that these islands are gone, you can just, like, spawn into the middle of Daggerfall, which is great. You can still go back to the islands. They're not, like, completely deleted, but now you have the option to go do them for extra experience. That's great. That's absolutely great, because that means that if I start a new character on the Daggerfall Covenant when my main character might be on the Ebonheart Pact. I don't have to go through to these goddamn 4-hour islands anymore. So, I'm quite excited about that. It's going to open up a lot of new possibilities, and honestly, that was a really big complaint. That was probably the main complaint, actually, by a lot of the people, including myself. It's like, I don't like going through a 6-hour tutorial. It was just extremely excessive, and the fact that it's gone, it makes me feel a lot better, because it shows that they're actually listening to the people. It shows that they're listening to their player base, and they're not afraid, and they're not afraid to, like, make a big change like this, so it's really great, and I'm extremely happy they did that, so hats off to you guys. I am extremely excited now, and I really do appreciate that you took the time out to go and change some major stuff like that, and it makes me a lot more excited for the full release of the game. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was PvP in general, because I did PvE impressions, so I feel that it's only right that I also do player versus player impressions, because they are two very different things in this game. It's not like the general arena combat World of Warcraft. I don't know World of Warcraft PvP. Don't play a whole bunch of MMOs, but I know what PvP is. And the Elder Scrolls Online PvP is freaking fantastic. And it's gotten even better in the final beta with the new update. They seem to have fixed a lot of lag issues that people were having, so now that they fixed a lot of these lag issues, the game is a bit more stable, and you can actually do things in, like, the big battles. Before, you kind of run into these, like, huge lag delays in every action you did that would go up to probably, like, I think I had ones that were up to, like, 30 seconds delay, and it was just ridiculous. You couldn't play at that point. That was everything from your sprinting to your active abilities to just regular attacking and, like, swapping weapons. It just wouldn't work. So, thankfully, in the final beta, when they updated everything, they seem to have fixed a lot of those server issues. Not all of them. There's still some input lag that comes every now and then, but I think the worst I had was about a 6-second delay, and that was only a temporary thing. So it went back to, say, nearly instantaneous to maybe 1.5 second delay, which is still entirely playable. So I don't really have a problem with that. So it seems like they fixed a lot of those issues, and hopefully it stays that way. Because, as we know from games like Guild Wars 2, and plenty of other MMOs and other online games, there's always issues when the game comes out with lag, and it hurts the game more than anything, so it really does kind of build my confidence a lot more for this game when, during the last beta, they can actually show some progress, you know? Because it means that they are actually working diligently, so I'm quite happy that they managed to fix those lag issues, so that's a great thing. Now, the PvP itself, oh man, this PvP is great. I mean, it's not what a lot of people are going to be used to unless you've played Guild Wars World vs. World, or maybe PlanetSide 2, because it's kind of like a weird cross between those two. I mean weird in the best possible way, by the way. So, the general overview of PvP, you probably already know this, but I gotta go over it anyways, is there are 3 sides, the All-Merry Dominion, the Ebonheart Pact, and the Daggerfall Covenant, and they're all fighting over Cyrodiil, because Cyrodiil is up for grabs, so you get all these different forts and keeps and bases that everyone tries to take over, so you get invading forces that attack a fort, and you have to, like, actually set up siege equipment to, like, blow up the walls and, like, stop the raiding parties and everything. And it just ends up in these huge battles that are fantastic. I mean, I've never seen, when the battles work correctly and they're not lagging out, I've never seen, outside of maybe PlanetSide 2, just a spectacle of this size that you can take part in. I mean, seeing everyone setting up their trebuchets and their other siege equipment to try to get into a fort, and then seeing all the enemies, like, setting up theirs on top of the walls and things like that, there's nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing. seeing all of this player-created stuff happening on your screen is nothing short of amazing. And the actual combat is extremely fun, in my opinion. I mean, it's got all the basic combat that you'd expect in this game. If you already played the beta, you kind of know what you're in for, just on a PvP scale. So you got to really like figure out your combos and hopefully not get caught off guard and not caught alone. Because if you get caught alone, or you're wandering out in the wilderness alone, you're gonna get your ass kicked. You're gonna run into a raiding party, and they're just gonna sneak up on you, or there's gonna be some rogue assassin like hiding in the forest, and he's gonna kick your ass. So I highly recommend doing the raiding groups. You can also do like scout missions and things like that. And like all of Cyrodiil is at your fingertips if you can explore it, which is great. And so outside of like attacking these main castles and forts, there's also like a regular like PvE quests as well, and PvE like towns and villages and cities. So say I think I went to Coral? I think I was in Coral. And there's a quest. And I had to go like avenge some chick's bandits or that died or something by other bandits. So I went down to Coral, and I was doing like the general like kill these bandits to avenge blah 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 blah. When a raiding party of Aldmeri Dominion troops came through there, and I had to hide in one of the buildings, or else they would have killed me. So it just kind of adds this really interesting tension when you're in a PvP-centric world and you're trying to do like random exploration and stuff. Like it feels like you're in a war zone where anything can happen at any time, and it's a very risk-reward system, and it's extremely addictive. I mean, there's certain like crafting things you can find, like U-logs, etc., that are in the world that are like only in Cyrodiil. So you get some incentive to go kind of exploring out in the wilderness when you don't know if you're going to run into enemy forces or not. So then you get like the dark anchors as well that come out of nowhere in Cyrodiil as well. So if you don't know what the dark anchors are yet, they're pretty much like the rift portals in Rift, where they kind of like drop out of the sky and then all these enemies spawn. You have to like fight to defeat them, and you get lots of rewards and stuff. And that kind of makes the different factions, when they're trying to fight like over one, you're fighting the factions, you're fighting the enemy troops, and then you're like trying to kind of half work together to kill some of the bigger bosses in the rift portals and stuff. It's really interesting. I've only done it like once or twice, but I really enjoyed it both times. So, man, this PvP it's just great. I mean, I will say that I found that my personal preference in the PvP is using my bow and arrow or a ranged attack, because a lot of the time, if you're in the front lines with just like a sword and a shield or a two-handed weapon, I find that you just kind of die. And that's just because like you're in the front lines and you're gonna get your ass kicked by everyone, because everyone's gonna hit the closest person, which is gonna be you. And the main problem with you dying all the time is it kind of gets in the way of some of the quests, such as the bounty quests that say task you to kill 20 enemy players. That can be kind of hard if you have a sword and a shield, because you need to actually like get up close and kill them. And the weird thing about those bounty missions is that they are kind of geared towards kind of the ranged attack characters, because in order to get like a quote like kill count towards completing the mission, you don't actually have to kill them, as far as I can tell. You just kind of have to like do a certain amount of damage to them with your bow, and then you kind of get accredited for the kill. So if you have a bow and arrow or a ranged weapon, you can kind of just run like towards the big battle and shoot randomly into it, and then get your 20 kills like extremely fast. And it seems to be a pretty efficient way of doing that. And like when you do that, you earn alliance points for like completing that and other kind of alliance-centric like quests and missions. And it's just a great way to like really get a lot of them really quickly if you're using your bow and arrow. So I don't know if there's a bit of balance tweaking that needs to be done there. I mean, there's a few things that say the Dragon Knight can do if he's using a melee weapon, like kind of like you like use the fiery grip chain thing to like pull archers in towards them and finish them off, but it's just not as effective in a big battle, I've noticed. So I don't know. So my personal preference is to use a ranged weapon, but I don't know. Maybe other people are seeing something that I'm not, and I don't know, it could go either way. So, I really like this PvP, and I'm really excited for when this game comes out, because they've shown that they are willing to change things. They're willing to listen to the community, and that's extremely important for a game like this, especially an Elder Scrolls game, because the community is so big and so entrenched already. I have high hopes for this game, a lot higher than I originally did, and I'm kind of excited to see it come out. Hope you guys enjoyed, and this game gets a wavering seal of approval up to release. See what the reviews are, and then judge your decision based on that. Go watch reviewers you agree with, whether it's me or Total Biscuit or Angry Joe, or whoever you identify with. Go see what they think, and then decide. I am PattyJack, and I will see you in Tamriel. Peace out. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. I would be super appreciative. And subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because then you can see all the other awesome content I make. If you want to go find that content, there's a bunch of playlists down in the description for you. Anyways, sounds like I got some dragon slaying to do. Patty out!